Melody Maker from Demographica, a very warm welcome to the Red Zone. It is good to talk to you. You're in the business of data, of big data. Why is data becoming so important in the marketing discipline?
I think very often marketers get quite afraid of the word data. It sounds scary and big and a little overwhelming. And
Well,
I
it
think,
is, isn't it?
Well, to a degree, yes, but at the same time, I think it in actuality is about getting back to basics. Data is just purely about understanding your consumer accurately as opposed to making assumptions. I think a lot of marketing these days is done on gut feel and assumptions on, historically what you have done, the tried and tested method, whereas data is a little bit more scientific. It's about saying this is actually what's going on with our consumer, and this is actually what we should be doing, as opposed to just relying on someone's gut feel.
We've invited you here today to talk about the importance of customer relationships, but just back to data for a moment. We've had so many other advertising, marketing, brand communication people sitting in that chair, and to a person they've all said it's all very well to have the data, but there's too much of it around and they don't know what to do with it. And that is your big challenge, is to sift through this daily, second by second mine of information to actually come up with something of value to a brand person.
I think data without the insights is absolutely useless. And so for us, it's not just about the breadth of data. I mean, Demographica, we have a database of 36 million South African consumers, which is quite a vast database. But if you don't actually have the insights behind that, the depth to the data, then you purely have breadth, and it's a bit of a spray and pray method that you're actually using. So for us, it is really about unpacking those insights with data analysts and the technology as well to enable us to do that.
The other argument is too much data takes the magic out of brand communication. Is that a poor argument?
I think you've got to have the marriage of both. I think you can't have one without the other, not in this day and age. I think back in the day, I mean, I love Mad Men, who doesn't? And I think then it was almost more about the romanticism of advertising and consumers almost lapping it up. Whereas now I think we're in a consumer age. We're educated. We don't just take what brands have to say as pure gospel. I think if anything, consumers don't love brands. We love what brands enable us to do. And enabling brands, I think, to have an authentic conversation with consumers means you've actually got to understand them, understand how they want to be spoken to, where they want to be spoken to, as opposed to how it is that you want to speak to them.
This segues nicely into the whole notion of customer relationships. You make this point that few marketers consider the dynamics of a relationship when deciding on how to engage with their consumers. What are they not considering?
To be honest, I think, again, marketing needs to come back to basics, and having a relationship, and this word gets bandied around a lot with marketers, tends to be, sort of the hot phrase, we have a relationship with our consumer, everyone loves their consumer, but in actuality, I think people have forgotten about the basics of a relationship. A lot of brands are in it for the one-night stand, as crass as that might sound, but it's not really about developing that long-term relationship. And just as it would be with any person, it's about getting to know them, meet them, and it being a mutually beneficial relationship, legitimately investing in that. Whereas I think a lot of brands are in it for what they can get out of it. They say they love the consumer and they want to give you everything and make you very happy, and it's all sunshine and roses. But in actuality, it is about the bottom line, and all they care about is use my brand, and yeah, that's about it, really. So
part of the problem, you'll also tell me, is that there is almost an over-reliance on technology in managing that relationship. Am I correct? Is that you're also saying that we need more personal interaction?
Completely.
We don't have the time to do that these days, though.
Well, that's why you hire people.
Well, it's a fair point.
No, completely. Yeah. But I think, again, it comes down to having that personal interaction. I think in this day and age, unfortunately, you can't just rely on mass communication to legitimately relate to a consumer. I think loyalty is quite a rare commodity these days, specifically for brands. But I think if you are able, to build loyalty with a consumer, but it is going to require going that extra mile. So I think if, as a brand, you're willing to do that, to put in the effort, as much as it is a lot harder, I think the rewards are well worth it.
So give me an example of how that might work then.
So I think where marketing is moving, personally, is all about location and relevancy. I think if you've got those two in line, I think you've got a great formula sort of going forward. So I think you can't just rely on purely sending out a mass message and hoping that it will apply to all. So I think, again, it comes down to understanding the data, being able to really segment your consumers, and then speaking specifically to them in a personalized manner. So across whichever medium, I think it's about understanding the medium that is relevant to your specific consumer.
In fact, you make the point that you have to keep the consumer within this relationship engaged, intrigued, and interested. And that's become more difficult because of the overload of information and the fact that all of us, to a greater or lesser extent, have brand attention deficit disorder.
Completely.
Yeah.
I mean, there is so much clutter. I mean, and you can attest to it. You have so many people coming here and telling you all of their wonderful marketing speak. But the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, while we might still be marketers, we are still consumers, and we understand what it's like to have messages bombarded at us all the time. And I think the only way that you can legitimately differentiate is to actually provide value in a relevant way. So if a brand is going to speak to me personally and to my specific needs, and again, I say to location, because again, it's about having that ease of use, ease of redemption, or whatever the case might be, then it's going to apply to me. Then there is value in that, as opposed to me feeling like it's just a brand, sending out their regular messages.
Just a final one, and very quickly, building trust and loyalty takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. You've got to be in this for the long haul, haven't you?
You really do. Again,
it's back to the one-night stand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I bring it back to the relationship. It's got to be a long-term investment that you're really putting in. And I think if you want to get the rewards out of it, if you want that loyalty, it's going to take time. And I think it's ignorant of brands to think that, you can build it overnight. I'm going to start some sort of great campaign and everyone's going to love me, because that's not the case.
Melody Maker from Demographica, thank you.